I guess it's time to finance. All right, well, good evening. It is March the 19th, 2025. We're here for our finance committee. We go ahead, I guess not March, it's April 16th. I think did I read the wrong date? Anyways, no one caught it.
19th, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah, but that's the minutes. Okay, anyways, we'll go ahead and get a roll call then. Thank you.
Mr. Rumney,
Here.
Mr. Ghost,
Here.
Strayer, Mayor St. John,
I'm here.
Mr. Happel.
Here.
Mr. Martin is absent and Mrs. Cooper is absent. 5 present, we have quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll jump right into the agenda, and it looks like the first thing off, is this Ms. Steffen? Are you gonna talk, or is it Daryl as far as the appropriation increase? Or no, we gotta do the minutes. Sorry, boy. Walking backwards today. Sorry about that. We'll go ahead and look to approve the minutes. Do I have a motion? Motion by the mayor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, second by Mr. Ghost. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Happel.
Yes.
5 yeas, minutes passed.
You did that as a favor to me.
We're a team.
Yeah. Okay, now I think after I looked at the eyeballs of people and said, you're doing the wrong thing, it's good now that we're to the appropriation increases, so.
Yes, I'll take this one.
Okay.
On page 6 and 7 of your packet, I put together a memo to the mayor and members of finance committee requesting some appropriation items that we need to add to the current year's budget. There is no ordinance on the agenda for tonight, but there will be an ordinance forthcoming. But I wanted to put these items in front of you so that you are aware and that you are familiar with why we need to increase some appropriations. The first page on page 6, I've listed multiple reimbursements that we've received year to date in 2025 and the end of year 2024. And the reason I've listed these is because some of them are substantial. Others are in the aggregate. They could be substantial for certain departments. So I'd like to get these funds appropriated to where they were initially paid from. So as you can see, the largest item here is that Big Walnut Intermediate School Trail construction. We did receive 50% of that entire project from Big Walnut Local Schools. So I'd like to put that back into the general fund. And furthermore, there's a $13,000 reimbursement from Pulte Group, almost toward the bottom of that page, for snow and salt services. I'd like to put that back into the streets department so that they can use that money to buy necessary items. So there's a list on there. If anyone has any questions, there are a few insurance claims that obviously we'd like to get those funds available to use. There's also a spreader that was purchased at the end of 2024 that it was refunded, and it's kind of a long story, but we have that money that I'd like to put that back into the streets budget. That's close to, well, $7,300 there. So that would go a long way in allowing our streets department to purchase some needed supplies. So that's a list of those items. And then on the next page, page 7, I wanted to show what we've spent in engineering fees so far this year, because a significant amount of my appropriation requests will cover engineering fees. And just so you know, I'm going to be requesting about $300,000 in engineering fees. And primarily, that's due to the large spend that we've had on the Eastside Utilities project. You can see we haven't spent $271,000 yet, but we do have invoices totaling $127,000 for the Eastside Utilities. So we've only spent, I think, maybe $130,000 so far, but we have additional invoices that are sitting on my desk waiting to be paid, and I don't have the money in the funds to pay that. So hence why I'm coming to council for appropriation increase. Also, the pump house and Lowhead Dam project was significant. Retainer and general services was significant. And the list goes on. I won't read them all, but if you have any questions on any of these engineering items, I'm happy to look further into that and give you some answers. But this is the basis of my request that will be coming to council.
And maybe if I could just add an item or two. We've talked a little bit about it. Eastside Utilities, Pump House, Lowhead Dam. those are expenses that are coming out of pocket at the moment, but will be reimbursed to the city at some point in the future by the developers to the east side. And the same but different with respect to Little Walnut Creek Interceptor. I mean, we're still trying to figure out the total financing for that, but this, is the extension of the interceptor that heads north from its current location. There's a lot of development interest and pressure in that particular area, and so we've tried to accelerate this as much as we can. So again, there will be other financing mechanisms that help pay for this in the future, but right now it's out of pocket expense to the city.
So for clarification, so you said roughly $300,000 was the amount. So I'm just curious, so it sounds like that 300,000, it's not just net new expense. It sounds like we'll be getting some of that back. Is that reimbursed at a later, so it's a timing thing?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any way when we go to vote for it, that could we see here's a $300,000 minus what we're expecting for this, so it's a net new $100,000 increase in the budget versus, because when you hear 300, it sounds like we're just adding $300,000 to the budget versus we're actually only adding X, because when you subtract what we're getting back.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I don't know that I can put that on the ordinance, or
Right.
maybe I can, but aside from that, I could at least do a memo.
Yeah, something like that would be great, just to be able to see exactly the amount we're approving over and above and beyond. And are things just more for the amount that whatever it ends up being? Is that just because things are more expensive, or the project was more in detail than we thought, or there was more to it than we initially estimated for, or a mixture of all the above?
I can't really answer that question
Okay.
without knowing what the engineer's estimates were on all of these design projects, so.
Yeah, so we are trying to change the way we do engineering costs going forward. Carla has been leaning pretty heavily on the engineers to develop task orders for each of these projects specifically, so that we do have a clearly identified budget for that task, and then we can measure spending against that clearly identified amount. And the East Side Utilities, I think, is a good example of one where we are expecting a task order to come forward to finish it. So we'll know again what the exposure looks like on the back end. Little Walnut Creek Interceptor, I'm guessing that's probably the same as well. So yeah, actually, why don't you go up there?
Good evening, Finance Committee. So what is being explained to you is a different philosophy in looking at the way our consultant has submitted task orders in the past, and this would be CT Verdantis. They had looked at it from let's do the engineering in different segments so that they wouldn't overwhelm the city with larger sums of money, such as let's do preliminary engineering, let's do surveying, let's do the geotechnical work. So you've probably seen these different tasks come explained to do a piece of the design work over the years. One of the things I'd like to change is that, for example, Little Walnut Creek, there's phase 3 is coming up, and they did submit a task order to do preliminary engineering, and I sent it back to them and said, please give me the total engineering estimate, not to exceed, so that we can actually look at the completed value. That way, if we needed to come back to finance, back to council, we can see what that overage is, and then they can explain why it is exceeding this dollar amount. That's a best practice for budgeting purposes. It will look like a larger number, but when you start piecemealing all of the task items together, it does add up, and it makes it difficult to track.
I agree with the approach entirely. Is there any difference in the aggregated amount versus the individual amounts?
So there shouldn't be.
Right.
Essentially, it should be a contract not to exceed with line items in there. So essentially, we shouldn't see a total contract that just has one number in it. Well, it's not $1 million, but $1 million for this contract listing what it's going to do. It should say, for example, $1 million and then $100,000 for X, Y, Z, and break down that task. And then as they invoice, they can take the money out and explain which task item they're on. And we'll know in real time whether or not maybe the survey ended up being more work, but we can look at the contract and say, well, let's keep moving forward. Sometimes those task items balance out.
Yeah, I have seen large projects where you do it in phases and then there's a payment point, but there's also a task list. And then you have a discussion about what got done compared to what we're planning on paying you. And did you do what we asked? Did you do the right thing? And then do we have fixed bid prices or is this like an hourly?
It depends on the contract, but if we are talking about Little Walnut Creek,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a fixed cost per service. It's usually looked at per the service of the person doing the work. So a surveyor line item for their hourly cost versus a project engineer, someone who's doing the drafting work at their computer, and then some oversight and review, and
And
the costs go up.
Yeah, who hires those folks? Is that Sunbury hiring those survey or is that the engineer like subcontracting out those services?
It could be either, but that should be included in the contract as well. So
Yeah,
if they need a subcontractor for geotechnical services because they don't do it in-house, we should be able to see what that dollar amount is going to be, and we should know who the consultants are going to be on any given design project.
okay.
Likewise, if they have services that they need to outsource that we thought they could do on staff, if it's not in their proposal, they need to come forward and explain why they're not doing that in-house.
Yeah, okay. I'm a strong believer in fixed bids because it's just so hard to, how do you discuss whether or not something actually cost that? It took that many hours. If you have a fixed bid, that discussion's off the table and it's like, well, you have this much money to get that done. And whether we hire the person or you hire the person, and you may prefer to hire it because you can control the cost more, but whether it's us or the company, this is what's getting paid. So you can get the work. If you get the work done sooner, congratulations. But we're not going to go over this price. But anyways,
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
It gets to the point where we have this not to exceed value.
yeah,
Let's say we're looking at the plan set and it's at 30% design, but they've spent 90% of the budget.
mhm,
Something's wrong.
right,
So that's something that you can identify as well.
right. Okay,
I'm
thank
not
you.
saying that's happening.
Yeah. As an example, right,
Yes.
gotcha.
Fired.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
I would also note on page 7, I split out these projects by fund, and I'm only going to have a capital appropriation request for the items in the general fund. I won't have any other funds being requested, so just an FYI. So that concludes the appropriations.
Okay. So let me end it here. Thank you very much. So then I think that moves us to the service department equipment purchases or needs. So I think is that
So,
over to Daryl and Jake, I think?
I'll start it. I've asked Jake Stockmaster to join me, so Jake's going to talk a little bit more detail about the equipment items, but on packet page 8 and 9, 9 shows items highlighted in yellow that were in the capital budget approved by council, late last year for this current year. And what we've done is showing you basically the plan is to move forward with these purchases. They're within the budgeted amounts. So our plan is to proceed with the purchases, but we want to make sure that you're aware of what it is that we're doing. So at the top of page 8, I've got a quick breakdown of snow and ice management. We had budgeted $150,000 for a plow truck. Jake will talk a little bit more about the quotes that he's gotten, but you can see this is under the budget of about $35,000. And then under mowing and other equipment, we had budgeted $55,000 for that. So 46,000 roughly in change for projected purchases. And again, Jake will talk a little bit more about those. So.
All right, yeah, so starting with the snow and ice, so we were looking to get another plowing, salting truck to add to the fleet as we are extending our lane miles that we need to be maintaining. So we are looking to duplicate what vehicles we are currently using, and that is the Ford 550s. So it'll be this year, 2025's model. It's going to be a V8 to a Power Stroke. So we're looking at the same capabilities of what we currently have in-house. And the real advantages of that is that we're able to ensure fleet consistency and make it seamless for driver reassignment. So that way, every operator is able to jump in just about any truck and be able to operate that truck safely and effectively. The other advantage of keeping the same make and model of vehicle is that we were able to maintain uniform parts to simplify repairs. So we can keep a lot of extra parts in-house that will fit for multiple trucks in case we have breakdowns. We are looking to purchase this truck from the Coughlin Ford in Pataskala. We've been very happy with them and their services, and we're looking to spend around $71,000 for this truck. With this is just the chassis, and then for the upfit, we're looking to use Zaresco, and with that, we're looking to spend about $44,000. We've used them historically in the past, and with dealing with them with service-related issues, they've been extremely responsive, extremely helpful. And again, it's almost a duplication of, we're going to find it easier on our end when we have to do any sort of maintenance because we've already had to deal with it a time or two. That's going to make that turnaround time of getting the truck back up and operating much faster. Overall,
Keep going.
overall looking to spend, like Daryl was mentioning, about $112,000.
Or 150.
I'm a little, I rounded a little.
Okay, there you go. So I was just going to add a couple of other things. One is, as Jake has indicated, we anticipate that new public roads will be, dedicated to the city before the next snow season. We've certainly got some subdivisions where we think we're close to making that happen. We did provide some service in those neighborhoods this year, but we used the lower, I'm sorry, what truck was that you were using?
We used the 250.
Yeah.
In place.
So, so this would basically replace that in the field with this larger piece of equipment. The other thing I wanted to note is that, we did have some breakdowns with the trucks this year during the snow season. Maybe you didn't notice it quite as much because the team did a great job of working around it. But I think that's one of the key benefits of the dealers that he's working with. Those have been the places where he's taken the truck during a snow event and gotten very responsive, or they've been very responsive to making those fixes and getting back to the service team, so that they didn't really miss a beat. So again, the consistency there we think is going to be important.
That's a good question.
Sure.
The annexation that happened east of the city.
Yeah.
Because it borders State Route 37, are we now responsible for the snow and ice on State Route 37? Or is that still an ODOT problem?
So that would be in the city at this point, although we're half the street, I think, not the other side.
Yeah,
So
that's where the confusion
yeah.
comes from.
I suppose we probably could make an argument that we only need to plow the street to the south, but that said, we've got a good positive working relationship with ODOT. They don't pick up their blades, so maybe just talk a little bit about how that's worked.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we get near a season and we have a bit of a change of who's got the road ownership, we have discussions so that we aren't overlapping efforts. And so currently we've had a really good relationship with ODOT where they keep their blades down through the mains and staying on the state routes and also applying salt. So likely and historically, they're going to keep plowing what they have been until we continue to grow and expand and be able to take those on and ourselves.
I figured as much, but I still think it'd be nice to have it on the record. So.
Yeah.
On record now.
On the record, exactly. All right, so mowing, maybe tell them just a little bit about how you've changed the mowing services this year as well.
Yeah, so looking at what we are actually responsible for, we've been curtailing what exactly we mow that's under the city's responsibility. So some of those places that we used to mow, we've had to change in order to properly cover what we need to be maintaining. Along with that, just putting in procedures for the operators to make sure that they're safely operating the equipment and safely out there mowing along roadsides. So that way we're not impacting any vehicular traffic and everyone goes home at the end of the day healthy. So on the note of equipment here, the equipment we're looking to duplicate again, we're wanting to stick with these John Deere riding mowers. So it's a Z930M. We have two currently in house. They operate really well Its suspension system really doesn't impact the operators very much, so that is an advantage as well as the wheels that they have. They're called Tweels. They really help keep the operators where they want to be, and they don't break loose when they're on some of these different slopes. So they were looking to buy 2 of those this year, and they're 13,000 each. Along with, we're able to get a trade-in value of one of the older mowers to help minimize the cost of getting these 2 new mowers. Following along with getting the mowers, we're additionally going to get a 3-point rear discharge attachment for our compact John Deere mowers. This is specifically for the right-of-way mowing. The one we currently have is overdue for replacement. So the other advantage, this is more cost effective than doing a mid-body mower, and it's a rear discharge. So the operator is going to be less concerned with where the discharge is being thrown, again, less likely to go out to vehicular traffic. And there's chains at the rear discharge to prevent anything with heavy momentum to really get thrown out. The other item we're looking to purchase is a John Deere brush cutter. This will be a quick attachment to our mini excavator. This is great for ground clearing up to anything of 4 inches in diameter. So this is mainly going to be used for right-of-way mowing and clearing of debris, so we can increase visibility and really help out with trying to minimize anybody, mainly with animals getting running across the roadway, kind of have more visibility. This is around 9,000 for this piece of equipment. We can also use this for cleaning and clearing the reservoirs if needed. So that's also an expectation and use that we can find and use as we go along. The last item looking to purchase is going to be, again, for that mini excavator, and it is a compactor. So this will have multiple uses that it's able to compact 2 feet of material at a time. So when we do any excavations, and we do quite a few of those, we're able to put that excavation back to almost near original condition same day. So that's really going to help with our cemetery, and then as well as in other locations where we're looking to install any storm lines, we need to compact any subgrades, even potentially asphalt repairs. We can use this to really get a nice compaction. And if I didn't mention, we're looking to spend $5,700 for this piece of equipment. So overall, looking to, again, I might have rounded just a little bit, get this well within budget, and round, I think it was 9,000 left over in the budget.
Yep, that's right.
So the way that 300,000 right there, Jacob,
There you go.
you're helping out the team.
Pushing back to the fund. There you go. Well, services are an expensive department, as you probably know.
Highly valuable.
Highly valuable. Yes.
What about, isn't Jacob taking over Town Square?
And that's where I was going to go. So
Come on,
So-
pat yourself
so
on the
you-
back.
yeah,
Jacob,
you've
tell us
taken
why you
over.
need this equipment.
So the need is that we're expanding the amount of acreage, and we're taking over town hall and the administration building, and that is credit to the team. We're very excited, and I'm already very happy with how the guys are doing with maintenance on this. So I'm looking forward to continuing that expansion.
So they'll mow, but we'll continue to have an agreement with First Impressions to do the fertilization and the aeration services on both of those places.
Will
So
First Impressions continue to mow at the
they
cemetery?
will.
Yes.
Yep.
And who's currently doing the parks, like Evening Street, J.R. Smith, Old Orchard, Freedom?
That would be the service department.
You guys still do that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Reservoirs look really good. I
Yeah.
fished that a couple weeks ago. Actually, I've never seen it look that good. It looked really good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're doing great, and that's where we bring that Ventrac in, so specialized.
All right, so that's just an update on what we plan to do. Just want to let you know, the equipment purchases that we're about to undertake. So that is that.
Ford is giving a family discount this year.
Ford is giving a family discount.
Yeah, I saw that. You get employee pricing.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
It's a tariff maneuver.
Make sure to ask,
Right.
make sure to ask for that.
Yes.
Yes, I will.
Family, you're right.
Thank you. Any other questions?
compactor, is that, where's it attached to, or is it handheld?
So that will attach to the arm of the mini excavator. Yeah, so it'll be machine operated.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate the update. Okay, Ms. Evan, I think back to you and the year-to-date comparison reports.
Yes, thank you. Starting on page 10 of your packet, you will see the year-to-date revenue report through the month of March. Just a few items I will note to bring to your attention here. The real estate property tax, which is the very first item on your list, that wasn't received until April. We typically receive that from the county in March, but we didn't get that until April 2nd. So that'll show up next month at the committee. And it did come in higher than expected. We've budgeted $700,000 and we got for the first half about around $450,000. So if we get $450,000 again, which I do expect, then we'll be, really increasing or over budget there. So that's a good thing.
Biennial increase.
Yeah.
That Don Ranky's office that delayed the payment. I just want to know who I need to call.
Kaitza.
It's a,
I like George. We won't make a call.
It's a little late, but it's more than we expected, so that's a good thing. The miscellaneous reimbursements down toward the bottom of page 10, this is just a reiteration of what I showed you earlier in the committee. These will be appropriation increases.
So I went back to the main page, Mr. Evan, and I'm just looking at the income tax, individual income tax. And it's down obviously from 24 to 25. Now I understand, like, I'm guessing from 21 to 22, that drop was because of COVID, would be my guess. From the 20, I mean, that's just total speculation, but the 212 to the 203. But then we were increasing 203, 224, 326, and then we're back down to 294. But any idea why? Is it timing or is it
I'm not really sure. I can't answer that without doing a deeper dive into these. However, I will tell you that at the same time I prepared this table, I prepared the April table because I have those numbers already.
Yeah.
So in next month, you will see that the individual amount does exceed the individual amount from through April of 2024.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
So
it
next
could be a
month,
10.
yeah, it's most likely timing, I
Okay.
would say, just based on that information.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
We made a comeback compared to last month. I mean, we were 7% in the hole.
Yeah.
And we're gaining momentum.
Yes.
Honestly, I think some of this just has to do with stabilizing. I know a lot of people are returning to work right now. They're state employees.
Mhm.
I honestly think there's going to be some fluctuation through this year.
Mhm.
And shift between withholding and individual.
Mhm.
Like we saw with the pandemic, I think we're seeing the reverse of that in this year.
Yeah.
You mean people going back to their offices?
Yeah.
Back to the revenue report, there's nothing else that I wanted to bring your attention to. So I'll move on to the expenses, and that's starting on page 13 of your packet. The yellow highlights indicate variances that are more than 10% of budget for this point in year. So starting with the general fund and the police department, cruiser repair is about 40% variance right now. So that's higher than we expect. Once I put some of the reimbursement money back into this fund, that number will look a lot better. Uniforms, I explained last month, that's for the uniform allowance that was paid in February. Street lighting for the Loeb Electric, that $15,000 expense that was related to 2024. I'll skip down here. We already talked about the contractual services for engineering. That's down towards the bottom of your page. So I won't dwell on that much more, but I'll happy to answer questions if you have any.
Last meeting, there was a discussion about an angry resident that said they would shoot down the drone if it came above their house. If they did that, wouldn't it be like injuring a canine unit? Then they would be responsible for repair?
That would be damage to a public asset. So I'm sure we would pursue that.
There's not really anything on here that I feel that I need to bring to your attention. But if you look through here at the yellow highlighted items, or even something that's not highlighted yellow and you have a question, please don't hesitate to ask. After the expenses, I've listed the year-to-date fund report so that you can see where our fund balances sit as of the end of March. That's on page 18 of your packet. And then page 19 through the end is the list of all checks and memo expenses written during the month of March. So don't recall anything that was blatant and high. You will note there's a Performance Delaware payment for $29,417 on page 19. That is for the camera truck that the sewer department purchased. They came in well under their budget of 70,000. So, yes. And, American Structure Point is on there, page 20. We paid them just under $30,000. This is for the State Route 37 widening project. They were doing the surveying on Route 37. And then $40,000 was paid to Reinhardt Walters Danner. That's our 60% portion of our property and casualty insurance. The remaining 40% will be paid in September. That's all I had to mention. And then we did talk briefly about income taxes, and I'll just quickly note our bank balances. The money is still looking good. We have $11,700 in our Fifth Third securities, $7 million in Star Ohio, and about $2.3 million in First Commonwealth. I will note Star Ohio is still giving great interest rates right now. They're still right around 4.7%, I want to say, maybe 4.5%. Still very good rates. So that's all I have to present for Finance Committee. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Steffen?
We get the budgeting software.
Yes, I do have that, and I'm working through modules and learning how to use it and getting data in there. So I've been working on that in the meantime and hopefully have something to present to you within the next couple months.
Would you describe it as nifty?
I personally don't like that word, so no. I'd say efficient and fun.
Fun.
Fun, yeah.
Like that better.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Nifty. Pictured my grandma. Nifty. Is that a short she got?
Thanks, Grams.
Thanks.
Okay, if there's no other questions. Oh,
If
sorry.
I could, just
Yeah.
one item. I mean, we did wrap up a little bit early today, but that was a little bit by design. So I don't know if it's out here yet exactly. The Chief was going to have this first vehicle, police vehicle, delivered, outfitted, and available for you to see before the council meeting. This is one of the lease vehicles that we talked about
Good.
3, 4, 5 months ago now. So, yeah, so if you get a moment, it's out there. All right. So if you get a moment, run downstairs, take a quick look at the new cruiser, and come back for the council meeting.
Is it okay if we walk downstairs?
You can do that too. You can do that.
All
too.
right, well then, we're gonna go do a field trip. So yeah, motion driven by the
Second.
mayor, second by Mr. Ghost. Roll call, please.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ghost,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Air,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
6 yeas, we are adjourned.